Hello and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where today we are going to be talking about the looks that shaped and changed Drag Race forever. Not the best looks of all time, but the ones that changed fashion on the show and what was acceptable in the eyes of the judges. Who was pushing the envelope? Who was trying new things? And how did we get from mall drag to where we're at now? We're going to talk about 10 looks that I really feel like jumped the show ahead when it came to what to expect on the runway. But first, two things. One, I got new glasses, and these are like blue light glasses, like anti-blue light, and so you can kind of see it gives this weird blue sheen from my lights, so I'm going to try and like keep myself here where there is none, but I'm sorry if that's distracting. Not me needing to get a backup pair of glasses to record videos, the fuck. But also, if you'll notice, the backdrop isn't moving, and it's not wrinkled. It only took 2 years. I realized that if I stick it to the wall, like I put little nails up, and the fabric, whatever this fabric is, it like clings to the wall. So now it is smooth, it is straight. I steamed it yet again, because this fabric is crazy. Steamed it for the 75th time against the wall, and now it is truly smooth, and it won't be moving when I move with the wind. We've like leveled up in the world, guys. You know what I mean? Like new microphone, new glasses, new backdrop. We are leveling up in 2026, and I'll have a new iPhone, the 17, so you'll have a crisper image in the next video, not this one, the next one, when I pick that up from the store. And if you are a member of my channel, you would have known all this because we had a little key session on my members only videos that I put out. So if you want to become a member and support me, that would be incredible, and you'll get videos every single week about Canada's Drag Race Season 6, which I have many, many positive thoughts on. So why don't I just put them up right now? These are my members. Thank you all so much for being members. You're pretty much icons and legends, and I think you all deserve $1 million. So the second that I get like $100 million, or however many of you that there are now, I'll be dispersing that amongst you guys. So thank you for that. Also, you're not watching Drag Duel? That's kind of weird. It's kind of strange considering this is one of the greatest seasons we've ever done. And we just had our Drag Duel tournament, which is a lip sync style tournament, and some of the lip syncs that they turned out, some of the drag duels that they turned out were phenomenal. So even if you don't watch the whole season, I think that is an episode worth watching because the talent on this show is incredible. Speaking of talent, we have some looks to break down. So let's start off. We're going to skip seasons 1 and seasons 2 because for the most part it was mall drag, you know, it was not bad. There were certain queens like Raven, there were certain queens like Angina and Nina Flowers, Bibi Zahara Benet, Tyra Sanchez, who were doing things that were really interesting and fun. But it was what it was. It was 2009, people. Like, let's give them some credit. But I think that 2 queens really kind of broke the barrier in season 3 and jump-started what will now be everyone spending $20,000 at the minimum on their packages on new seasons of the show. The first queen, of course, we have to talk about is Raja and her Marie Antoinette look. This was like a moment. And you could say there's a couple Raja looks that you could have chosen for this, but this was the one that I think truly brought the fashion, the energy, and was very different from anything we'd seen before. We'd seen a couple kind of conceptual looks, but this was taking it to a whole nother level with the full Renaissance. I don't know when Marie Antoinette was alive. I'm not a history buff. Renaissance, Romantic era, I don't fucking know. But the makeup that fully encapsulated the era and the style. The print all over this outfit, the way that it is styled, it is so chic, it is so fashion, and the way that she models it is just so effortless. It's like she knows she's making history. She knows that she is that bitch in this moment, and as she should. As we saw, she did like a 2025 version of this look, which was like a whole different level of insane and incredible. But this look on season 3 is what I think is the genesis of fashion on Drag Race. I think when it came to runways and looks in the first 2 seasons, I don't think you were tuning in for those. I think you were tuning in for the drama, somewhat the lip syncs, but mostly the drama, because it was very much focused on the drama. And I think that with this look, this is when Drag Race really focused on the drag, started focusing, like, specifically on the drag. And I think that that was kind of the plan going in. I think they were casting queens that could kind of push the boundaries of what we had seen, because they included so many design challenges. And I think it's because there were so many designers, queens that just had an eye for fashion and for design. Like, there were just so many queens that were doing really interesting things on the season. Alexis Mateo had some really fun looks. I think that we don't talk enough about Yara Sophia's runway package on this season. And even, kind of a random queen to, like, give credit to, but, like, India Farah had some pretty insane looks. And I think that we, like, don't talk about anymore because they're pretty tacky, but I still think for the time it was, like, kind of crazy that she just, like, came with these. Like, that's kind of iconic if you ask me, Miss Dayton, Ohio queen. But I truly think that this Raja look was the creme de la creme of runways from the first couple seasons, and Drag Race was forever changed after this look. But I also think there was another look from the season that kind of jump-started fashion on Drag Race in a different way, because Raja was all about the fashion, all about the high couture. And then I think you have Manila Luzon, who was bringing you glamour plus camp, glamper. She was the original glamp queen. Like, she was doing so many fun looks. And yes, she also had plenty of looks that were more fashion and just strictly, like, in that kind of sector. But the pineapple gown. The pineapple gown was the definition of glamp. And I think, you know, so many queens that we have on today that are kind of doing this kind of, this marriage of comedy plus glamour. Like, we wouldn't see the level that we have now without Manila and this pineapple dress. I mean, this was a moment. People talked about the pineapple dress. She made tons and tons of money off of this look. And when she had her own, like, Barbie doll, it was wearing this dress. This was a moment for the show, showing that you just didn't have to wear, like, some random dress from the mall. You could have this really fun, stupid dress, but it will be so memorable, and everyone is going to live for it, and that is the direction that you could also take. You know what I mean? Like, when you look at the first two seasons, I'm thinking Tatiana, I'm thinking Raven, I'm thinking Jujubee, I'm thinking these queens that were just going to their local, you know, outlet mall and picking some pretty dresses. But it was queens like Manila and Raja that were truly pushing the envelope in season 3, and I think that they are, you know, the top two of this season very clearly. Either of them could have won, and I think this is the season we all look back on and it's like, this should have maybe been a double win, because what they were both doing for the show, but on completely opposite ends of the spectrum, was so boundary pushing, and I think changed the show moving forward. I don't think we have a Sharon Needles in season 4 or an Alaska on season 5 if you don't have someone like Manila, who's doing these really kind of kooky, weird things, and it's being received so well by the audience. So props to these divas, two of the best who ever do it, and they deserve all their flowers for these two looks. Now, I would be remiss to not talk about Sharon Needles, unfortunately. And that's something that we're having to really tinker with in our brains as, you know, we're having these conversations about these terrible people that are unfortunately in positions of power or, you know, on our television screens or, you know, on our Spotifys. And I think everyone feels differently about it. But if we're talking about looks that changed Drag Race, you have to bring up Sharon Needles' apocalyptic couture look, because, oh my god, I mean, there's this, I remember before everything came to light that she was an inspiration to me, because as someone who loves horror and also loves drag, and Dragula was either, you know, around but really new, or maybe I hadn't seen it yet, I didn't know this was possible. Like, Sharon Needles introduced me, and I think a lot of other people, to how wide the spectrum of drag can be, when the first 3 seasons were showing a very narrow view of what drag could be. She broke those doors down. And it sucks that she's a piece of shit. It sucks so bad that she's a piece of shit because, like, it's so cool what she was doing on the season. It's so fun looking at these runways and being like, wow. Like, you know, now looking at them, you could tell she had a budget. She had a budget and it wasn't much. But at the time, with what the show had on previously, just what she was bringing, specifically this look that she made herself with the blood coming out of her mouth, with the bald cap, with the whiteout contacts, with the gross makeup. Like, this was so cool. So cool. So incredible. I love this look, and it just makes me mad. It makes me mad that shitty people have to have such good talent. You know what I mean? Like, why can't there be a rule that if you're a shitty person, there's like a vacuum cleaner that like sucks all the talent from your body and you're just left like a shell. Like, that's how it should be. But unfortunately, that's not the way this world works. So unfortunately, we have to bring up shitty people like Sharon Needles, who unfortunately did really cool stuff on TV one time, like 15 years ago. But I mean, what else is there to say? This look it's so good, and I think it's a lot of people's first kind of exposure to horror drag if they weren't out there at the club seeing it themselves. If they're only watching drag on TV, Sharon was probably the first person to do something like this. So have to give her credit for that. Have to give her the 10s for the look. But Diva, you're crazy. Like we can acknowledge the work itself and then move on with our lives, which is what I'm going to do right now, because we're moving on to a look from season 5 from a queen that I love so much, that I want to see back on this show so badly, and it is DETOX. And I feel like this is the first real stunt look. Like, you could say that Sharon's look was somewhat of a stunt as well, but this was like I'm going into this episode, this reunion, and I'm pulling a stunt. And it is DETOX's black and white look that she wore to the reunion. And as we'll see, as the seasons go on, stunt looks become a huge thing. You know, whether it be a gimmick like something Jimbo does, like when she has like an entire, you know, other person on the backside of her. Or you could say that DETOX kind of, you know, does this again on All Stars 2 when she paints herself entirely silver. Like a stunt look that is like less about what you're wearing and more about the statement that it's making. Like, that is what this is about. This is her saying, I'm that bitch. I painted myself black and white. No one has ever done this before. I'm in a very chic, simple black dress, but you're not looking at the dress. You're looking up here. You're looking right here at the money shot. And it was so good. Whoever did this makeup, so good. It was so good that it inspired a challenge, a runway prompt all about it on season 8, where they did black and white looks like this, like entirely black and white. And it's just so much fun. It's so cool. And especially at the reunion, where, I mean, we've had Housewives, we've had, you know, other shows having Survivor, where like if you want to make a statement, you make it at the reunion. And DETOX said, I'm going to make a statement at this reunion and make sure that you will never forget about me. And she sure did, because this look is just incredible. And we have never forgotten about her since. So I definitely think this deserves a spot on the list as the first, like, I'm pulling a stunt. I want the eyes on me. And they absolutely were. Now we're going to talk about 2 looks on season 6. And the first queen we're going to talk about is a queen I've gushed about many, many times. And I don't need to continue gushing about her, because I think you all know how obsessed I am with her, but I'm going to do it anyway. We're talking about Milk. And Milk on season 6, I could have included so many looks. I could have just included, honestly, her whole package. The whole package, from the first look that she wore a beard. That was the first time anyone had ever had facial hair on the runway. Her Pinocchio look is so kooky and weird. Her pregnant look was the first time anyone has been pregnant outside of a challenge that forced them to be pregnant on the show. But the look that I chose was her RuPaul look, because I think it was the most divisive. I was really between the beard and the RuPaul, but I think at the end of the day, they liked the whole outfit. It was just like, rip off the beard is what they said. This was a very polarizing look. And I think depending on your scope of drag at the time, could have been what decided if you liked it or not. Like, if you're out there in the clubs, if you see, you know, drag kings, drag things, drag monsters, people doing androgynous drag, then this is probably like nothing. Like you're like, okay, what about it? But if you are only watching Drag Race and you have only seen very high femme drag, with the exception of people like Angina or Nina Flowers or the Princess, who had like, bald looks, which was really, punkish and pushing the boundaries for sure. But to come out in a full male drag look, this was the first time it was done on the runway. I think Alaska did like a male drag look in a challenge that was not perceived well, but on the runway, this was the first time that was done. And it was not received well. You know what I mean? Like, I think that you could kind of tell, like, Michelle was living, and, like, RuPaul was, like, deep down living a little bit, because she was an androgynous bitch when she first started. She was doing gender fuck, and that's what this is. So, to see that they really weren't living for it just kind of was annoying, because, like, this is where RuPaul got her starts, and here's Milk pulling a gender fuck look on the runway, and RuPaul's like, fuck you, basically. And they tell her, like, why have you not done high glamazon drag? And Milk's kind of like, because that's not what I do. And they're like, we don't care. Show us high glamazon drag. That's what we need right now. And I think that, Milk was definitely mistreated a bit on the season because of that. Like, this should have been high praise. High praise. So smart. Because the category is wear a look that RuPaul has worn. And everyone's coming out in RuPaul's, promo looks and glamazon looks and all of these gigantic gowns and huge hair. And Milk comes out as workroom RuPaul. That is so, so genius. And, we're still not where we should be when it comes to male drag on Drag Race. We have Velma Jones right now on Canada's Drag Race, who is a king and a queen, and she just did a king look and got high praise for it, as he should. But we haven't had a full 100% king on the show. And to see that on season 6, a queen doing a male drag look was, given so much shade for it. And over 10 seasons later, over a decade later, we're still not progressed to where we should be. It is disappointing. And I think to the people at home, like, it was very polarizing to the people at home. Plenty of people were like, this is not drag. This is not what we're here to see. This isn't female illusion. Why am I watching this? But to the people that got it, me, and hopefully you watching at home, this was an absolute revelation. So much so that not this look specifically, but based off of Milk's other look, her bearded look, they do a bearded runway on season 7. Inspiring future runways, Milk and DETOX. Love this look. Love this look so, so much. Genius, and did more for the show, I think, than almost any other look in the history of the show. I would put this at like the top 1 or 2 when it comes to pushing the drag that we see on Drag Race. So, Milk, you get your 10s from me. I love her so much. I love this queen so much. And this is just one of the reasons why. The other look from season 6 that I'm including, and it's because of the scope and the scale, is Courtney Act's Animal Kingdom couture look. She does this huge winged bird creature. And this is another kind of like a stunt look, but we had never seen animatronics like this. The wings opened, the wings moved. It was massive. They were putting this all over the previews because it was such a huge look. I genuinely don't think we have seen a look that was this massive in scale and scope up to this point in the show. This was the biggest, like, home run, swinging that bat, making sure that you are making a statement on the show. And that's where I think the show needs to start outdoing itself. All the queens that are coming on, they're like, well, I need to do better than Courtney's look. I need to do better than Milk's look. I need to do better. Like, those are the 2 looks that I really think were, like, pushing the boundaries of the fashion on the show. And as we'll see today, they're still trying to outdo each other every season. But I think it looks like this one, this incredible look from Courtney Act, that was really trying to push the envelope and made other queens come in, specifically in season 7, and try different things to outdo the doer. So I think that this look absolutely deserves its spot on the list for just making other people try and outdo this look. It started the chain reaction, I would say, to where we're at now, where every look is like $10,000 or more. The next look I want to talk about is from season 7, episode 1, the premiere, and it's the look that I think jump-started the reveal-a-palooza that is Drag Race now, where we have like a reveal runway every single season, and everyone's trying to think of new ways to do reveals. You could say that it, started with Roxy Andrews' wig reveal. That's not a look. So the look we're going to talk about is Violet Chachki's Tartan fall runway on season 7, episode 1. There's a gif of this that went viral. I feel like this is a look that is constantly always coming up in like the lexicon of Drag Race looks. It's just ingenious. It's so smart. It's so stunning. It is so beautiful. It absolutely won her this episode. And it's hard to find a look that has the same impact as this one does when it comes to the reveal. She comes out on the runway. She's in this stunning black, jumpsuit, and you're like, work. And then all of a sudden, she flips it around, and it's this tartan, beautifully made stoned tartan look that is within an inch of her skin. There is not a single, flaw or wrinkle anywhere. It is so sculpted to her body. And I think that's an issue with a lot of these reveals now, is you can clearly see it's a reveal. You can clearly tell. But with this one, you could not tell until it was happening. And then you were just gagged. So much of Drag Race now is about the viral moment, the meme moment. And I feel like this is the first kind of huge moment. Everyone was sharing this GIF everywhere. People had not seen something like this before, either on this show or in general. And so it was really exciting, and we're going to see, as the seasons go on, that everyone needs to have a reveal all the time, and it all stems from this moment where everyone lost their minds over this reveal, and everyone else wants to have that moment, that same reaction, but you can't, because this was the blueprint. Yes, we've seen reveals before on the show, but this was the one that truly gagged the audience, and I think still stays in all of our minds today, over 10 seasons later. Violet Chachki did the damn thing with this look, and you can blame it potentially on there being a really bad reveal runway every single year now, but I still think it was absolutely worth it just to be able to have this GIF going for the rest of time. I hope that this is what they find of our civilization, when it crumbles in 5 years. You know what I mean? That's what I would hope for. And this next one is perhaps a controversial take, but I'm going to say the next influential look is Bianca's finale look at the season 7 finale. So she's not the first to do a finale look. Sharon Needles was at the season 5 finale doing a look, and Jinx was at the season 6 finale doing a look. But this is the first one that was an absolute moment. And I think jump-started what really becomes a thing in later seasons, and especially after the next season when Violet Chachki comes back in her look, which is the previous winner has to have a step-down look that is so next level that they will forever be immortalized in Drag Race canon. And, you could say that maybe Violet should have been the one on this list because her look is the best. But I think Bianca was the one that started the trend. This head-to-toe glitter look. Her face is glitter. There's glitter on her dress. There's glitter on her hands. Every inch of her is covered in glitter. This is such a statement piece. This is such a statement look. And I think really is what probably inspired Violet to say, well, I have to go even harder than that. And then come out in what many people call the greatest look of all time on Drag Race. But I think the Bianca is the one that truly, set that train in motion, and then Violet was the one that took the train to the station, if that makes sense. But I think that I want to give the credit here to Bianca because she saw what Jinx and what Sharon did, and she said, I will do you one better. And she brought this incredible high fashion, super conceptual, super kooky all at the same time, but also very Bianca look. So I think she does deserve her flowers for that. And so fashion continues to kind of, progress and progress and progress as the show goes on. But we're going to jump all the way to season 13, which is what I would call the start of the modern era of Drag Race. Season 13 has some of the most insane and incredible looks. And we're going to talk on both ends of the spectrum, from worst to best. So let's start out with the worst. LALA Ri's bag look. The reason I have this look on the list is because it created the Golden Boot Award. And it showed queens that you could have something so bad that it will be forever remembered and become like a joke that everyone is in on. Like, she clearly was like, I have no outfit. What the fuck do I do? Let me just glue some bags onto a corset and make a moment. And a moment she made, because this look is still talked about today. It is so funny. It's hilarious to me. And it's so unserious. And I feel like with so many of the looks, most of the looks on Drag Race now, especially on season 13, they're so extravagant, they're so huge, they're so big, they're so expensive, they're so bejeweled and bedazzled and sequined and rhinestoned. And she just put some paper fucking bags on a corset and called it a day. And I think that it kind of brought on this kind of meme culture that we now have in Drag Race, where you don't have to be the best, you just need to be memorable. Like, think about, like, some of Maddie Morphosis' looks, or Selena's Titties looks, or, like, you can come in something very unserious and just have fun with the category. And I feel like LALA Ri's bag look gave everyone else the permission to basically do whatever they wanted. In a time where it seemed like every look just had to be better than the last, she set in motion the unserious, memeability, kind of camp, stupid looks that we now sometimes have on the show. And I'm forever grateful to her for that. And then the last look I want to talk about is Symone's DURAG look from season 13. So there's other queens who have absolutely worn looks inspired by their ancestry or their heritage or their culture, where they're from. But I feel like Symone is truly the one that made that part of the conversation about her drag. Again, that is not to diminish or to erase anyone who had done that previously, but Symone, it truly felt like so many of her looks were so inspired by her Black culture, and she was finding different and new ways to bring that in and tie it in every single week. From this high fashion do-rag moment to the more serious and kind of heartbreaking moment with the don't shoot look that she had. But even in like the Baps look, and like so many of her things that she did were so incredible. The nails look that she had at the finale, like so much of her drag is infused with inspirations from her culture, and it felt like this was the moment that really broke that barrier. And now we have queens from, I mean, all over the world now in these international seasons, really highlighting their culture and putting their culture into their drag on the show and giving it a platform. And the show is in hand really letting them platform it and speak on it, which I think is wonderful. But I really think that Symone's do-rag look is like, it felt like the moment where like everyone was like, all right, I'm going to do it too then. Let's fucking do it. Like, drag is important. Drag is political. And especially in times like today, we have to educate others on where we come from, the struggles of, you know, where I come from, and just all the different cultures from around the world. And I really think that Symone deserves a lot of credit for that, because she was, I mean, doing so much with these looks. They were so expensive, and they were so well made, and really just created so much conversation about, you know, the topics that she was bringing up and the culture that she was bringing up and showing off. And I just think that's what's really, I think, defined Drag Race today. It's like every silhouette has basically been done, every kind of look has been done, but the thing that's really making these new outfits and these new runways shine and special is the personal stories that are behind them. And I want to give a lot of credit there to Symone specifically, who just really did a lot of like pushing that boundary forward and kind of breaking the barriers of what we'd seen on the show. So those would be the 10 looks that I would pick. But I want to know, did I leave any off? Would you switch one of them out? Let me know what you think are the most inspirational looks from the show that maybe I didn't mention. And also in other countries, I'm sure in other franchises, there are plenty of others. That's a whole other video on its own. So let me know what you think about these looks and the ones that are maybe percolating in your head. The links to all of my social medias are in the description down below, as well as the link to Drag Duel. We're 7 episodes in. We got 7 kings and queens left, and the end game is going to be very interesting and very fun. So I hope that you have been enjoying Drag Duel if you have been watching, and thank you so much if you have been watching. Also, the Rigged Recap will be back with me and Kayla, and this time it's going to be in a video format as well as a podcast format. So there will be its own channel for Rigged Recap, where you can watch every single episode with me and Kayla and all of our guests for season 18. That will be debuting on December 30th, where we will be talking about the Meet the Queens and all of those looks in the preseason and all of that. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.